used to training with hand signals. Oh, we're live.
And howdy, everybody.
Shalom, shalom.
Morning.
Howdy, Chance. Howdy, Lynn. Howdy, Dee. And for those of you that aren't here yet, howdy. We got a bunch of people in chat already, which is awesome. So today we are closing out Daniel, starting in chapter 8, going through 9, 10, 11, and 12. And you said you had some special notes, Dee?
Mm-hmm. On 12, yeah.
Okay. And that, let's see, how did everybody's week go?
Pretty good.
Mine went good. You can hear the washing machine draining through the drain over here. That's why I'm
Uh-huh. Yeah, sure.
I am in the bathroom this morning, but I'm not using it.
Okay.
Thanks for clarifying, Chance.
There's a reason they call it the office.
Right.
Okay.
When it's your only quiet place in your house, it's okay.
Yeah, but it's not. All right, let's go ahead and pray in, everyone. Good morning, Father. Thank you very much. We ask for your spirit of knowledge and understanding to be put on everyone here now and in the future. As we look at the book of Daniel and close it out and prepare us for moving into the Apocrypha. For those extra books. And we thank you very much for all the blessings you're bestowing upon your people that you're calling. And we would ask that you have us prepared and ready and waiting for those you're calling that will be coming at some point in the near future. And we're grateful for that. Just give us the eyes to see and the knowledge to understand when they're coming to us. We love you in Jesus Yeshua's name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay. So what did I say? Chapter oh yeah, Daniel chapter 8. So Daniel chapter 8. Here we go. In the 3rd year of the reign of Belshazzar, a vision appeared unto me, even unto me Daniel, after that which appeared unto me at the first. And I saw in a vision, and it came to pass when I saw that I was at Shushan in the palace, which is in the province of Elam. And I saw in a vision, and I was by the river Ulai. Then I lifted up mine eyes and saw, and behold, and there stood before the river a ram which had 2 horns, and the 2 horns were high, but one was higher than the other, and the higher came up last. I saw the ram pushing westward and northward and southward, so that no beasts might stand before him, neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand. But he did according to his will, and became great. And as I was considering, behold, an he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth, and touched not the ground. And the goat had a notable horn between his eyes. And he came to the ram that had 2 horns, which I had seen standing before the river, and ran unto him in the fury of his power. And I saw him come close unto the ram, and he was moved with choler against him, and smote the ram, and brake his 2 horns. And there was no power in the ram to stand before him. But he cast him down to the ground, and stamped upon him. And there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand. Therefore the he-goat waxed very great. And when he was strong, the great horn was broken. And for it came up 4 notable ones toward the 4 winds of heaven. And out of them that came forth a little horn, which waxed exceeding great toward the south, and toward the east, and toward the pleasant land. And it waxed great, even to the host of heaven. And it cast down some of the host of the stars to the ground, and stamped upon them. Verse 11. Yet he magnified himself even to the prince of the host, And by him the daily sacrifice was taken away, and the place of his sanctuary was cast down. And an host was given him against the daily sacrifice by reason of transgression, and it cast down the truth to the ground, and it practiced and prospered. Then I heard one saint speaking, and another saint said unto that certain saint which spake, How long shall be the vision concerning the daily sacrifice and the transgression of desolation, to give both the sanctuary and the host to be trodden under foot? And he said unto me, Unto 2,300 days, then shall the sanctuary be cleansed. And it came to pass, when I, even I Daniel, had seen the vision, and sought for the meaning, then, behold, there stood before me as the appearance of a man. And I heard a man's voice between the banks of Ulai, which called and said, Gabriel, make this man to understand the vision. So he came near where I stood, and when he came, I was afraid, and fell upon my face. And he said unto me, Understand, O son of man, for at the time of the end shall be the vision. Now, as he was speaking with me, I was in a deep sleep on my face toward the ground, but he touched me and set me upright. And he said, Behold, I will make thee know what shall be in the last end of the indignation, for at the time appointed the end shall be. The ram which thou sawest, having 2 horns, are the kings of Media and Persia, and the rough goat is the king of Grecia. And the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king. Now that, being broken, whereas 4 stood up for it, 4 kingdoms shall stand up out of the nation, but not in his power. Verse 23, And in the latter time their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding and dark sentences shall stand up, and his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. And he shall destroy wonderfully, and shall prosper, and practice, and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people. And through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand. And he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many, and shall also stand up against the prince of princes. But he shall be broken without hand. And the vision of the evening and the morning which was told is true. Wherefore, shut thou up the vision, for it shall be for many days. And I, Daniel, fainted, and was sick certain days. Afterward I rose up, and did the king's business. And I was astonished at the vision, but none understood it.
Chapter 9. In the first year of Darius, the son of Ahasuerus, of the seed of the Medes, which was made king over the realm of the Chaldeans. In the first year of his reign, I, Daniel, understood by books the number of the years, whereof the word of the Lord came to Jeremiah the prophet, that he would accomplish 70 years in the desolations of Jerusalem. And I set my face unto the Lord God, and to seek by prayer and supplications with fasting and sackcloth and ashes. And I prayed unto the Lord my God, and made my confession, and said, O Lord, the great and dreadful God, keeping the covenant and mercy to them that love him, and to them that keep his commandments. We have sinned, and have committed iniquity, and have done wickedly, and have rebelled, even by departing from thy precepts and from thy judgments. Neither have we hearkened unto thy servants the prophets, which spake in thy name to our kings, our princes, and our fathers, and to all the people of the land. O Lord, righteousness belongeth unto thee, but unto us confusion of faces. As at this day to the men of Judah, and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and unto all Israel that are near, and that are far off, through all the countries whither thou hast driven them, because of their trespass that they have trespassed against thee. O Lord, to us belongeth confusion of face, to our kings, to our princes, and to our fathers, because we have sinned against thee. To the Lord our God belongeth mercies and forgiveness, though we have rebelled against him. Neither have we obeyed the voice of the Lord our God, to walk in his laws, which he set before us by his servants the prophets. Yea, all Israel have transgressed thy law, even by departing that they might not obey thy voice. Therefore the curse is poured upon us, and the oath that is written in the law of Moses, the servant of God, because we have sinned against him. And he hath confirmed his words which he spake against us, and against our judges that judged us, by bringing upon us a great evil. For under the whole heaven hath not been done as hath been done upon Jerusalem. As it is written in the law of Moses, all the evil is come upon us. Yet made we not our prayer before the Lord our God, that we might turn from our iniquities and understand the truth. 14. Therefore hath the Lord watched upon the evil, and brought it upon us. For the Lord our God is righteous in all his works which he doeth, for we obeyed not his voice. And now, O Lord our God, thou hast brought thy people forth out of the land of Egypt with a mighty hand, and hast gotten thee renown. As at this day we have sinned, we have done wickedly. O Lord, according to all thy righteousness, I beseech thee, let thine anger and thy fury be turned away from the city Jerusalem, thy holy mountain, because for our sins and for the iniquities of our fathers, Jerusalem and thy people are become a reproach to all that are about us. Now therefore, O our God, hear the prayer of thy servant and his supplications, and cause thy face to shine upon the sanctuary that is desolate for the Lord's sake. O my God, incline thine ear and hear. Open thine eyes and behold our desolations in the city which is called by thy name. For we do not present our supplications before thee for our righteousness, but for thy great mercies. O Lord, hear. O Lord, forgive. O Lord, hearken and do. Defer not for thine own sake. O my God, for thy city and thy people are called by thy name. And whiles I was speaking and praying and confessing my sin and the sin of my people Israel, and presenting my supplication before the Lord my God for the holy mountain of my God, yea, whiles I was speaking in prayer, even the man Gabriel, whom I had seen in the vision at the beginning, being caused to fly swiftly, touched me about the time of the evening oblation. And he informed me and talked with me, and said, O Daniel, I'm now come forth to give thee skill and understanding. At the beginning of thy supplications the commandment came forth, and I am come to show thee, for thou art greatly beloved. Therefore understand the matter, and consider the vision. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city to finish the transgression, and to make an end of sins, and to make reconciliation for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness, and to seal up the vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and build Jerusalem unto the Messiah, the Prince, shall be 7 weeks, and 62 weeks. The street shall be built again, and the wall, even in troublous times. And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the Prince shall come destroy the city, and the sanctuary. And the end thereof shall be with a flood, and unto the end of the war desolations are determined. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, and in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease, and for the overspreading of abominations he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate.
Chapter 10. In the 3rd year of Cyrus, king of Persia, a thing was revealed unto Daniel, whose name was called Belteshazzar, and the thing was true, but the time appointed was long, and he understood the thing, and had understanding of the vision. In those days I, Daniel, was mourning 3 full weeks. I ate no pleasant bread, neither came flesh nor wine in my mouth, neither did I anoint myself at all. 3 whole weeks were fulfilled. And in the 24th day of the 1st month, as I was by the side of the great river which is Hiddekel, then I lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, a certain man clothed in linen, whose loins were girded with fine gold of Uphaz. His body was like the beryl, and his face as the appearance of lightning, and his eyes as lamps of fire, and his arms and feet like in color to polished brass. And the voice of his words was like the voice of a multitude. and I, Daniel, alone saw the vision, for the men that were with me saw not the vision. But a great quaking fell upon them, so that they fled and hid themselves. Therefore I was left alone and saw this great vision, and there remained no strength in me. For my comeliness was turned in me into corruption, and I retained no strength. Yet heard I the voice of his words, and when I heard the voice of his words, when I was in a deep sleep on my face, and my face towards the ground. 10. And behold, an hand touched me, which sat upon my knees and upon the palms of my hand. And he said unto me, Daniel, a man greatly beloved, and understood the words that I speak unto thee, and stand upright. For unto thee am I now sent. And when he had spoken this word unto me, I stood trembling. Then said he unto me, Fear not, Daniel, from the first day that thou didst set thine heart to understand and to chasten thyself before thy God, thy words were heard, and I am come for thy words. But the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 21 days. But lo, Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me, and I remained there with the king of Persia. Now I am come to make thee understand what shall befall thy people in the latter days. For yet the vision is for many days. And when he had spoken such words unto me, I set my face toward the ground, and I became dumb. And behold, one like the similitude of the sons of men touched my lips. Then I opened my mouth and spake, and said unto him that stood before me, O my Lord, by the vision my sorrows are turned upon me, and I have retained no strength. For how can the servant of this my Lord talk with this my Lord? For as me, straightway there remained no strength in me, neither is there breath left in me. Then there came again and touched me one like the appearance of a man, and he strengthened me, and said, O man greatly beloved, fear not, peace be upon thee. Be strong, yea, be strong. And when he had spoken unto me, I was strengthened, and said, Let my Lord speak, for thou hast strengthened me. Then said he, Knowest thou wherefore I come unto thee? And now will I return to fight with the prince of Persia. And when I am gone forth, lo, the prince of Grecia is come. But I will show thee that which is noted in the scripture of truth. And there is none that holdeth with me in these things, but Michael your prince.
Chapter 11. In the first year of Darius the Mede, I arose to be an encouragement and a protection for him. And now I will tell you the truth. Behold, 3 more kings are going to arise in Persia. Then a 4th will gain far more riches than all of them. As soon as he becomes strong through his riches, he will arouse the whole empire against the realm of Greece. And a mighty king will arise, and he will rule with great authority and do as he pleases. But as soon as he arises, his kingdom will be broken up and parceled out toward the 4 points of the compass, though not to his own descendants, nor according to his authority which he wielded, for his sovereignty will be uprooted and given to others beside him. Then the king of the south will grow strong, and along with one of his princes, who will gain ascendancy over him and obtain dominion. His domain will be a great dominion indeed. After some years, they will form an alliance, and the daughter of the king of the south will come to the king of the north to carry out a peaceful arrangement. But she will not retain her position of power, nor will he remain with his power. But she will be given up, along with those who brought her in, and the one who sired her, as well as he who supported her in those times. But one of the descendants of her line will arise in his place, and he will come against their army and enter the fortresses of the king of the north, and he will deal with them and display great strength. Also their gods with their metal images and their precious vessels of silver and gold he will take into captivity to Egypt. And he, on his part, will refrain from attacking the king of the north for some years. Then the latter will enter the realm of the king of the south, but he will return to his own land. His sons will mobilize and assemble a multitude of great forces, and one of them will keep on coming and overflow and pass through, and he may again wage war up to his very fortress. The king of the south will be enraged and go forth and fight with the king of the north. Then the latter will raise a great multitude, but that multitude will be given into the hand of the former. When the multitude is carried away, his heart will be lifted up, and he will cause tens of thousands to fall, yet he will not prevail. For the king of the north will again rise a greater multitude than the former, and after an interval of some time, he will press on with a great army and much equipment. Now in those times many will rise up against the king of the south. The violent ones among your people will also lift themselves up in order to fulfill the vision, but they will fall down. Then the king of the north will come, cast up a siege ramp, and capture a well-fortified city, and the forces of the south will not stand their ground, not even their choicest troops. For there will be no strength to make a stand. But he who comes against him will do as he pleases, and no one will be able to withstand him. He will also stay for a time in the beautiful land, and with destruction in his hand. He will set his face to come with the power of the whole kingdom, bringing with him a proposal of peace, which he will put into effect. He will also give him the daughter of women to ruin it, but she will not take a stand for him or be on his side. Then he will turn his face to the coastlands and capture many. But a commander will put a stop to his scorn against him. Moreover, he will repay him for his scorn. So he will turn his face toward the fortress of his own land, but he will stumble and fall and be found no more. Then in his place one will arise, who will send an oppressor through the jewel of his kingdom. Yet within a few days he will be shattered, though not in anger nor in battle. In his place a despicable person will arise, on whom the honor of kingship has not been conferred, but he will come in a time of tranquility and seize the kingdom by intrigue. The overflowing forces will be flooded away before him and shattered, and also the prince of the covenant. After an alliance is made with him, he will practice deception, and he will go up and gain power with a small force of people. In a time of tranquility, he will enter the richest parts of the realm, and he will accomplish what his fathers never did, nor his ancestors. He will distribute plunder, booty, and possessions among them, and he will devise his schemes against strongholds, but only for a time. He will stir up his strength and courage against the king of the south with a large army. So the king of the south will mobilize an extremely large and mighty army for war, but he will not stand, for schemes will be devised against him. Those who eat his choice food will destroy him, and his army will overflow, but many will fall down slain. As for both kings, their hearts will be intent on evil and will speak lies to each other at the same table, but it will not succeed, for the end is still to come at the appointed time. Then he will return to his land with much plunder, but his heart will be set against the holy covenant, and he will take action and then return to his own land. At the appointed time, he will return and come into the south. But this last time, it will not turn out the way it did before, for the ships of Kittim will come against him. Therefore, he will be disheartened and will return and become enraged at the holy covenant and take action. So he will come back and show regard for those who forsake the holy covenant. Forces from him will arise, desecrate the sanctuary fortresses, and do away with the regular sacrifice. And they will set up the abomination of desolation. But smooth words, he will turn the godliness, those who act wickedly toward the covenant. But the people who know their God will display strength and take action. Those who have insight among the people will be given. Those who have insight among the people will give understanding to the many. Yet they will fall by the sword and by flame, by captivity and by plunder for many days. Now when they fall, they will be granted a little help, and many will join them with them in hypocrisy. Some of those who have insight will fall away in order to refine purge, and make them pure until the end of time, because it is still to come at an appointed time. Then the king will do as he pleases. He will exalt and magnify himself above every god and will speak monstrous things against the God of gods. And he will prosper until the indignation is finished, for that which is decreed will be done. He will show no regards for the gods of his fathers or for the desire of women, nor will he show regard for any other gods, for he will magnify himself above them all. But instead, he will honor a God of fortresses, a God whom his fathers did not know. He will honor him with gold, silver, costly stones, and treasures. He will take action against the strongest fortresses with the help of a foreign god, and he will give great honor to those who acknowledge him and will cause them to rule over many and will parcel out land for a price. At the end of the time, the king of the south will collide with him, and the king of the north will storm against him with chariots, with horsemen, and with ships, and he will enter countries, overflow them, and pass through them. He will also enter the beautiful land, and many countries will fall, but these will be rescued out of his hand. Edom, Moab, and the foremost of the sons of Ammon. Then he will stretch out his hand against other countries, and the land of Egypt will not escape. But he will gain control over the hidden treasures of gold and silver and over all the precious things that of Egypt, the Libyans and the Ethiopians will follow at his heels. But rumors from the east and from the north will disturb him, and he will go forth with great wrath to destroy and annihilate many. He will pitch the tents of his royal pavilion between the seas and the beautiful holy mountain, yet he will come to his end, and no one will help him.
Daniel chapter 12. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people. And there shall be a time of trouble such as never was, since there was a nation even to that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book. And many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. And they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and they that turn many to righteousness as the stars forever and ever. But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. Then I, Daniel, looked, and behold, there stood other two, the one on this side of the bank of the river, and the other on that side of the bank of the river. And one said to the man clothed in linen, which was upon the waters of the river, How long shall it be to the end of these wonders? And I heard the man clothed in linen, which was upon the waters of the river, when he held up his right hand and his left hand unto heaven, and swear by him that liveth forever, it shall be for a time, times, and a half. And when he shall have accomplished to scatter the power of the holy people, all these things shall be finished. And I heard, but I understood not. Then said I, O my Lord, what shall be the end of these things? And he said, Go thy way, Daniel, for the words are closed up and sealed till the end of the time, until the time of the end. Many shall be purified and made white and tried, but the wicked shall do wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand, but the wise shall understand. Verse 11. And from the time that the daily sacrifice shall be taken away, and the abomination that maketh desolate set up, there shall be 1,290 days. Blessed is he that waiteth, and cometh to the 1,330 days. But go thou thy way till the end be, for thou shalt rest, and stand in thy lot at the end of days. Well, all right. Let's take as long as possible to get to 12.
It would take all the time we need.
Okay. Daniel 8. I don't have anything until verse 1. Anybody got something before that?
Mine was 5. I at least got past the first verse.
Yeah. Okay, so third year of Belshazzar. Now, this caught my attention. We seem to have a shift here, very much like we did with the books of Esdras, where we go from a history, or what seems to be a history, to now he's speaking himself. So what I mean by that is it seems like the first 7 chapters are a documentation of Daniel's life. Have a chance, how do you land, how do you eat? And now he's speaking. Hey, we don't take business calls.
I do that all the time.
I know, I hate it when it happens. All right, anyways.
Sorry.
Oh, was that you? I thought it was Chance.
No, it wasn't me this time.
Well, his name was in it, so it's his fault.
I'm still too low tech to be using tabs to converse with the YouTube chat. I use my phone to talk in the chat.
Okay, so anyways, did anybody else kind of notice that?
Yeah.
Yeah?
No.
Okay. So then verses 3 and 5, we got Persia is the ram and Grecia is the goat. And then you said something about 5D?
Yeah, I've got a 1995 Ryrie Study Bible. And so on 5 it says without touching the ground. And
Yes.
my note for that was it was like lightning fast.
Right.
They just ran through it.
Yep. Yeah, he was that historically Alexander the Great was, I think he's still like got the world record for conquering the most territory in the littlest amount of time. It was like really fast. There are, if you talk to some people though, some people believe, I forget where it is. I believe there's an account of him being really tall, like 8 feet tall.
Wow.
And so people believe that he was of a Nephilim seed. But I don't have the documentation for that. So if you want to find it, hunt down Nancy Garcia. Okay, and then I just got I got something for 8.
I just had something I highlighted in 7
Uh-huh.
was that it was talking about the ram. I mean, it was like the ram had no strength to protect him or to withstand him. So is that something under the curse that Abba's remove the protection of his people?
Sorry. What was that again?
I said, so it just seems like Alexander just ran through everybody, including Abba's people.
Right. Well, they're still in the captivity, though. Well, they're not in the captivity. They'll be returning from the captivity while this is going on and reestablishing. So this is future from where Daniel is now. But yeah, I mean, it's essentially, pay tribute. Well, we're going to see a lot of this recorded in Maccabees and some of the other books where invaders come to the promised land or holy land or whatever you want to call it, that precious land, and say, pay us tribute or we're going to conquer you. And sometimes they pay tribute and sometimes they fight and get whooped. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they fight with Yah on their side and repel them. So it's like this continuing cycle, but we will cover that in a lot more detail. For 8, I just wanted to note that is the bighorn, right? Broken off the he-goat. That I thought you were imitating me, Lynn.
Oh no, it's a fly.
Right? So the he-goat gets his ram broken, or his horn broken, and 4 other horns rise up. And that historically is his 4 generals that were his most trusted generals of Alexander.
So apparently, Cassander took my notes in the book in my Bible was Cassander took Macedonia, Lysimachus, and Thrace, much of Asia Minor. So one of them took quite a bit, apparently.
Right. Yep. And we'll read about that in Maccabees also. And then I just got a general note. I don't have anything until 11, but it's a general note for 11 through 14.
The only other thing I had was, most people probably knew this already, but the beautiful land is referring to Israel.
Right. So 11 through 14, we're going to read about that. And it's fulfilled in Maccabees, and that's the one general that says he's going to accomplish that for 2,300 days, which is just over 6.3 years. So 6 years and a third almost.
Yeah, 6 years and a third, so 6 years and 4 months.
Yep, interesting, huh?
Yes, I like math.
19 through 25 is basically explaining this vision, right, to Daniel, so that he can understand it.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else for chapter 8?
Okay.
Okay, if you get something, we'll pull a Gwen since she's not
Go back.
since she's not here. We can break the rules. Okay.
The only other thing I noticed was, in 27, Daniel was like, he was just sick. I mean,
Well,
it just made him physically ill to see the destruction that was coming.
Yep.
So in 25, go back.
Uh-huh.
So in 25, so through his policy, also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand. Do you think that means witchcraft?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it's the same thing. That's what my opinion is.
Okay.
I believe, just like we see today, there's people that try like all they can to make sure other people don't follow the law, and craft prospers in their hand.
Okay.
So
Well,
that's what I believe it is.
And going into the Strongs and Brown Drivers, it says treachery, cunning, deceitfulness, deception. And, if you look at it, craft, it's all those things.
See what this says.
Well, what are we going to call it when we make something artistic? I mean, there has to be a better word than I like. Yeah,
And
my arts and
Yeah.
that just has really bad.
Chance?
25 in the Hallelujah. I think it makes it easier to understand. In the Hallelujah scriptures, it reads, "And through his skill he shall make deceit prosper in his hand, and hold himself to be great in his heart, and destroy many who are at ease, and even stand against the Prince of Princes. Yet without hand he shall be broken." I think that it's a little easier to grasp it the way it's said there, instead of just cause craft to prosper. I think that was a better wording of
Right,
it.
and then the ASB says without the help of men. He'll be broken without the help of men.
Right. Well, yeah, that's the way also that I see it. Hands aren't going to touch him. So.
Right.
Yep.
All right, chapter 9. Now, that name's familiar, eh? Verse 1.
Oh yeah. Oh, Darius.
Well, Darius, but he's the son of
Ahasuerus.
which is, where did we see that? Remember?
Esther.
In the book of Esther. That was who Esther married, allegedly, right?
Eventually,
Eventually, thanks to that disobedient woman who wouldn't honor the king. Okay. Interesting. So it's first we see about Darius in person. And then 2, did anyone else catch that?
I did.
I have observed the number of the books.
Yep. Now, the number of the books, is that what yours says?
Mine says the number of the books.
Interesting.
The books,
Number-
the number of the years. Observing
Yeah.
in the books the number of the years. Sorry.
Right. Yep. And that, and he got those from Jeremiah. Isn't it awesome the way it's all connected?
That just goes to prove to you that prophets listen to other prophets.
Right.
So that's very interesting.
Yep.
Okay.
And then, was it Jeremiah or was it Ezekiel that was talking about, as it was reported of by Daniel? Does anybody remember that?
Oh, I think it was Ezekiel.
So that's interesting. Did Abba have all these guys running concurrently at the same time, basically
They
saying the
overlap.
same thing? So they were their witnesses, their second and third witnesses to each other?
And they were
Ezekiel
overlapping. Mhm.
Ezekiel 28:3. Behold, thou art wiser than Daniel. There is no secret that they can hide from thee. Very interesting. So that he was heaping that upon the king of Tyrus. Interesting, though, that Daniel's wisdom was so well renowned that other prophets were writing about it,
Mhm.
his contemporaries. Okay, anyways, let's see. Where are we at? Chapter 9?
We're on 3 now. We're on
Yeah.
verse 3 now.
Well, I just did I put the books for the 70 years, and then 3 through 19 is Daniel's petition, his prayer to Yah. Hey, the time is up. You said we'd be punished 70 years. Yeah, we're some butt heads, but you made some promises to us, and we would ask you to honor those.
Isn't that about the number of years that the Iron Curtain was up?
Oh,
Interesting.
I got thinking about that just now. It just registered.
When was the Berlin crisis? 19.
Or when communism was in
Right.
the block over there.
Yeah. So it lasted from 45 to.
Well, Reagan was in, so what was it, 80, 81? So not 70, but I think I don't know, maybe it's not 70.
It's interesting, though. Anyways, let's look at that.
I had in 4.
Oh, it's me too. Go ahead.
No, in his petition, he's confessing to the Father. He's reminding the Father he keeps his covenant, and he's his loving kindness. So to ask him to be merciful, but that we in 5 have rebelled and turned away from the commandments and ordinances.
Right. Yep. But in 4, what caught me was keeping the covenant and mercy to them that love him and to them that keep his
Them that keep
commandments.
his commandments.
Right.
And we, that's a recurring theme that we keep picking up on here.
over and over.
Over and over and over.
And over and over.
Very, very
Yeah, but he
amazing what
continues on.
happens
I mean,
when you
between
start
5
looking at. It's very
I'm
amazing
sorry.
what happens when you start looking at the books in between the early books and the last books. It's like, oh, this is all knit together.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny? It knits together, and that's our covering.
Beautiful.
Kind of like a covering the dome.
Mhm.
So he just goes on and on. He's saying, this is what we've sinned against you. And he's like, please, we rebelled. We asking for your forgiveness. We've taken our punishment. It's the 70 years, and please, we've done this already. And so nothing's ever been done to a people like this before, he's saying. And that's what got me in verse 12. How he says, you turned your words that you spoke against us, our judges, and you judged us, that brought upon us great evil, because they weren't judging righteously according to the law, right?
True, but they also broke their word.
Right. And he's saying, I'm sorry, we're sorry. I mean, we did this. Part of the only way that you're going to continue on is if you be honest and you admit your wrongdoings, no matter how nasty they are, no matter what. You just got to look at it and say, oh, I did that. I did it.
Yep. And that's
And then I have to thank God for that discipline, because without that discipline, I'm going to be a spoiled brat. And it actually makes the discipline a lot better and not so hard. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't know about I'm not a spoiled brat. I'm a stiff-necked, rebellious brat.
I'm not too. But I'm kind of spoiled. I am. I admit I'm spoiled.
Okay. So let's go to.
Oh, 11.
Okay, go ahead.
11.
11.
So I went back into the actual, into the interlinear. Bible Hub's a great resource. So if you go in the interlinear in chapter 11, you can replace every one of those words that says law with Torah.
Verse 11.
Mm-hmm.
See,
And 13. And 13.
What they call the Old Testament, there really doesn't seem to be any dispute about the law being Torah. But it's once you get into, especially Paul's writings,
Mm-hmm.
there's 5 different words that are translated as law.
Right. And a lot of Paul's stuff is he's talking about the oral law versus the written law, and it makes him sound like he's schizophrenic.
Yeah. Well, he's also talking some about Roman law and some about
Mm-hmm.
natural law. Interesting. So then 19 through 25, we got the explanation of the vision. He's just told flat out, this is what this is.
Well, I'm 20. He says he was speaking and praying and confessing his sin, the sin of the people.
Yep.
And, and then presenting his supplication. So, I mean, he's just repenting. He's going through, and what does the Father say? If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray. So this is a good example of that.
Yep. And we know he's a prince of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Also, right? Because remember, he was taken into captivity as a youth.
Yeah.
And it might be he's from Arkansas.
Just might be.
Because if you look at that, he says, yea, whiles I was speaking.
Hey, there's some of his people here in Arkansas.
I said, boy, that really good chance was reading that. All right. What else for 8? Still on 8? No, we're
9.
on 9. Sorry.
9, Gwen. We're on 9.
9.
Okay. So 22. interesting that he is asking for skill and understanding. Or he's being told he's
Can
going to
get
give him skill and understanding. What skill is he being given? Does that read differently in other translations there that you got?
In 22,
22, yeah.
It says, in Hallelujah, it says, and he made me understand and talked with me and said, O Daniel, I have now come forth to make you wise concerning understanding. So I think it's discernment.
Okay.
the word in, let's see. So the word in, understanding, to give you skill is lahaskilaka, and it is to be prudent.
discernment.
Discernment, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you. So let's see here. So then in 25, we get to the infamous 70 weeks of years that so many people beat to death and that they talk about. But it's interesting because it talks about this, and if you work it out to when it says Messiah will be come, it works out just about perfectly to the day, because it's all messed up from the various calendars.
Mm-hmm.
But when Yeshua rode the colt into Jerusalem
Right.
to become the lamb, the sacrifice.
And then on 26, are you? So the next one I have is on 26. But yeah, I had heard that this pointed exactly to when he entered.
Now, how is it that they get an exact date and still deny him?
Because they didn't meet their paradigm of who they had in their head. They wanted a conquering king to take them out.
Okay. Excuse me. Yeah. All right. Let's go to 10. So now we are skipped a little bit. We seem to have. There we go. So now all of a sudden we're in the 3rd year of Cyrus, king of Persia. We were under Darius at the beginning of chapter 8, right? Darius Rucker. Oops. There we go. Oh, go ahead. Something changed?
Oh no, I was flipping through and getting a sword pulled up so that I could have the Strongs to look at.
Okay. Verse 3 I found interesting. I ate no pleasant bread, neither came flesh nor wine in my mouth. So does that mean at some point he stopped his diet of pulse?
It sounds like to me that's what he did.
But now he's not. Now he's again fasting from wine and flesh again.
And did you notice he doesn't anoint himself with any oils either?
Yep, that's what I was sitting here going to Strong for. I was like, well, I wonder what exactly. So he went on a literal dry fast, is what he did there.
Well, sometimes when you're doing that, you want to stop those oils because they can dry you out. And when you're not eating, you're not really absorbing water well. So.
Now he said wine. It wasn't a dry fast.
He had no wine.
He just said wine.
He said
neither
no wine.
came flesh nor wine. He said, I ate no pleasant bread, neither came flesh nor wine in my mouth.
Wine.
So,
it doesn't mean water.
Yeah, so he didn't have any wine. Oh, yeah.
Didn't have any wine.
My bad. So, yeah, so he ate It looks like he ate like a old bread, maybe a dry bread or just an unleavened bread, and water.
Tortillas. Okay, sorry.
For 3 weeks.
I can do tortillas for 3 weeks. I can
Oh,
do it
yeah.
for years.
That's discipline.
Yeah.
My gut wouldn't be
Discipline.
happy with that.
It might be discipline with those store-bought 15 ingredient tortillas, but not
Right.
not with the homemade 4 ingredient ones.
Well, those
Right.
of you who are blessed with the ability to cook those might enjoy those, but
Right?
some of us are tortilla illiterate.
Um,
Um,
so I don't have anything until 10, verse 10.
Oh, before that. No, because 7.
yeah.
So those guys didn't even see him, but yet they just were so filled with fear that they just left
Mhm.
out of there.
No.
I've had that happen before where it was like, you need to go because I felt it and it's like, you need to go now, so that's weird.
Well, that's what happened to Paul too.
Mhm.
They experienced something, but they didn't see the blinding light.
So just think about the presence was so powerful that does it say who was with him? Well, the men who were with me, it doesn't say who they were. So I'm wondering if they were not followers of Yahovah, and that power of that spirit they
Terrifying.
couldn't stand in it.
But I think it also has to do with him wanting to get Daniel alone. And so even if they were followers of Yah, they might have still had that fear, so that they would leave the area. So, hey, we can talk by, me and you, because I got word for you, not them.
Right.
Maybe.
We've seen that.
Yeah, like
We've
they
seen
weren't
the
meant to hear Daniel's side of the dialogue.
Yeah. Well, we've seen the examples of where he can make people hear a charging army and people say, I'm out of here, man. I'm not hanging around for that.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently we need Tortilla University.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think you need to do a YouTube video on how to make tortillas.
Yeah,
Right.
we need a tortilla video.
Because some of us apparently just don't have that skill.
And some of us don't care, and they're not going to cook it anyway.
Okay. So I found it interesting in verse 10, right? He's on his face, but he goes through the trouble of saying that the hand picked him up to his hands and knees, right? On the palms of his hands and his knees. So that, I don't know why that just struck me as, okay, I used to see that when we would play soccer and someone would get the wind knocked out of them. Okay, help them up to their hands and knees first. Then they catch their breath. And pull them up.
Yeah, that's what happens when you catch somebody in the... Yeah, they go to their hands and knees to try to catch their breath.
Okay.
Because maybe when he fell down, he had the wind knocked out of him.
Right?
Well, yeah, and remember that he's just went through this 3 weeks of fasting,
True.
on pretty much dry bread and water. So, I mean, he's going to be pretty weak physically also.
True. Well, apparently when these visions hit, this is not a normal man, and it's not a normal vision.
Well, yeah, they're open, full visions.
They're just like the power of Yah comes down, and it's just...
Yeah, he's getting the whole thing. He's seeing, he's hearing, he's probably smelling, he's probably just right there, like he's standing in the scene. I don't know. I'm guessing, but it looks like he has complete and full open vision, which is amazing. Very special.
I don't have anything until 20. If you got something there.
I have 12.
All right.
I just, he was heard the first day he put it on his heart to pray. He was heard.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I just think sometimes, because I am guilty, I pray for something, I don't see it I don't see something happening immediately, and I like, oh great, my prayer's not heard. And so you get frustrated and you stop praying. Last night, the Father showed me something though. We had storms coming in from Oklahoma, coming across the top part of the state. I just prayed for a bubble around us because these were high winds, 60 mile an hour with hail coming in. I watched the radar over where I lived. There was a dead spot.
A dead bubble.
It went around me. I was just like, okay. It wasn't so much that he answered that prayer. He was saying, I hear you. Don't give up. I hear you.
Amen.
Yes, I prayed for my son every day for 4 years. So yeah, you don't give up. Even though there was days when I felt like it was never going to happen, I didn't quit. So, and then I got my son. So yeah, be encouraged. Keep on praying, people.
Yeah. Sorry, interrupted your next. Okay, what did you say? 20 what?
20.
20?
Yep. So basically, he's being told Prince of Greece is coming. And, right, he's going to, after he returns to fight with the Prince of Persia. So Michael came to help him with this fight with the Prince of Persia. And then he's going to go back and say, hey, remember when you punched me? Remember when you were bullying me and wouldn't let me through? We got some business.
I wonder if their fights are anything like ours.
I don't know. Maybe.
You know, and I've been sitting here reading through this, and I was thinking there. You notice, Michael is he's also referred to as the prince or a head, right? And so when he's talking about going to fight with the Prince of Persia, the head of Persia, and when he leaves, the head of Grecia shall come, or Yawan as it says in the Hallelujah. So he's talking about battling principalities, not necessarily
Yes.
men,
The
right?
king. Right.
Actual
Not the earthly
kings, but he's talking about the principalities.
Principalities. Yes.
Yep.
Right.
Just to clear that out, because a lot of people see it and they think king and they think prince and they're thinking that they're talking about physical people.
Yeah.
When you've got to remember that it's spiritual entities, and that means that Anywho, I just wanted to put that out.
So question with that thought in mind, Chance. Okay, so you've got princes or principalities, the fallen ones over different nations, different kingdoms. So where's their counterpart? Is their counterpart that you've got like Michael and Gabriel that are in a higher position over them? So like he comes and fights with that prince, or are they on the same level? And so does that mean that there are the good guys, the good angels over the nations as well as protectors?
There is. There would have to be.
Or are the rankings like Michael and Gabriel, these guys are higher up?
Well, they are,
Right.
because Michael's the restrainer, and then Michael and Gabriel, they're like, well, so think of it like an army. Our armies reflect those armies in the
Yeah,
power of,
Yeah.
So Michael and Gabriel, they're way up there. They're generals or whatever you would call those. Who's
But
the
if
highest?
they are, then why would he have a 21-day battle? I
Because
mean,
I'm sure, like the Prince of Persia is just as powerful as him. And if
You
he's
mean
sent
as Gabriel?
as Gabriel, yeah. So like they would kind of be matched up. Don't you think that the Kingdom of Darkness wouldn't send their weakest guy to fight against, Gabriel?
well, then that sounds
Well-
like Gabriel and Michael are not
Right.
ahead
I
of
think-
him then.
I believe Gabriel is of a lower caste, for lack
Yeah.
of a term,
Yeah.
better term. But
Yeah.
right, what is it?
He's the administration.
Michael's listed as, in some theologies, as an archangel, right? One of the head angels. But as things here reflect the spiritual, remember how Yah set up Israel through Moses and picked captains of thousands, captains of hundreds, captains of 50s, and captains of 10s.
Mhm.
So there has to be a similar structure on the spiritual side.
No, I get that. I guess my question is, is it Gabriel or Michael that's coming here? I forget.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Gabriel. So
And Michael intervened with the Prince of Persia
okay,
on Gabriel's behalf.
on Gabriel's behalf. So yeah, I'm asking where they are in their level. I guess is what I'm asking.
Think about it like this. Maybe Chance will relate to this better, but you got a supply sergeant who doesn't want to release something that he just inventoried.
Gotcha.
Right.
And then the munitions clerk needs ammo to load the plane out on the line. And then the major asks, why isn't that loaded yet? Because Supply Sergeant Smith wouldn't give me the ammo.
And so the major then goes, okay, I'll take care of that.
The major goes, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So Michael goes marching into the Persian supply hut.
That's a really good analogy of that.
Okay. So verse 21, basically he's saying, now I show you chapter 11. And I just have a general note for chapter 11. You're
I
going to
was
like this one.
reading, so I don't remember.
You're going to like this one. Chapter 11 is a prophecy of what we will read about happening in Maccabees when we get there.
All right, write that down.
All right, so let me grab that real quick.
Now let me go to Maccabees and say, see Daniel, chapter 11. Oh, wow, I went right to Maccabees. How interesting.
Did you? So, yeah, Maccabees, we're going to be reading that in
Yay.
fairly short order. So,
It's so totally new to me. I'm excited.
yep. Don't forget, we got KingJamesBibleOnline.org, BlueLetterBible.org, eSword,
Bible.com,
Bible Hub,
Bible Hub, Bible.com.
Bible Hub, Bible Hub, Bible Hub. I
Blue
can't say
Letter
it.
Bible. Oh, they don't have that in there.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Bible.com, BibleHub.com.
Say
Yeah.
Bible Hub and Hubba Bubba.
Bubba Bubba.
Hubba Bubba Bubble Gum, the Bible Hub. Bible Hub is brought to you by Hubba Bubba.
I like Hubba Bubba. Makes good bubbles.
So, okay, so I'm not real good on prophecy. You'll have to forgive me. So the Antichrist that's listed here, is this like a precursor to the one that's coming?
This is one of the most twisted chapters of Scripture in the pulpits across Western civilization. That this, almost all of this, if not all of it, will come to pass historically as we read in Maccabees. Right? This is talking about we see a completely different Judah, house of Judah or nation of Israel set up after their return from captivity. And it doesn't take long before they're into making alliances with gold and bribing and just the worst conniving and truce breaking and forming treaties with other people and backstabbing. I mean, it's like a Mexican soap opera.
So this one, in Daniel, we're saying this one has happened. Revelation
I believe that
is coming.
I believe that most of the rest of Daniel has happened until we get into 12.
So do we want to hold off on Daniel or going through Daniel 11 and pull it back up with Maccabees?
We can, but let's see here. Excuse me. Oh, let me just pull some stuff up here. All right. Pull up the right one. Okay. So, for example, a lot of people say, I'll just give you an example for 11:20. Right? Talks about the raiser of taxes. You hear people talk about the raiser of taxes, the raiser of taxes. Then shall stand up in his estate a raiser of taxes in the glory of the kingdom. So within a few days he shall be destroyed, neither in anger nor in battle. Well, we have historical context for that. But yet you hear people constantly trying to figure out who's the raiser of taxes because it's been falsely taught, after the raiser of taxes, Antichrist will be here. So people were saying, Obama is the raiser of taxes, right? But then they all voted for Trump, you know? And it's like, well, if he's the raiser of taxes, who are you voting for next? Right? I mean, by this teaching that he's the Antichrist. But Daniel 11:20. So let's look at this. This was not Antiochus Epiphanes, as Theodoret says he is designed in the next verse, nor Ptolemy Epiphanes as Porphyry, for he did not succeed Antiochus the Great, nor Tryphon, tutor to Antiochus, as some Jewish writers, but Seleucius Philopater, the eldest son of Antiochus the Great, who succeeded him and was settled in his kingdom in his father's room and stood upon his basis, and might well be called a raiser of taxes, being not only a covetous man, and a lover of money above all things, and therefore laid heavy taxes on his subjects to gratify his avarice, but was indeed obliged to it, to raise the 1,000 talents yearly to pay to the Romans. Now see, this is all what we're going to read about in Maccabees. You got some of them come into leadership in Judah and make alliances with the former Grecians. And some of them make alliances with the king of Egypt. And some of them make alliances with the Romans. And that's the one that's going to ultimately prevail. If you haven't read the New Testament, it's the Romans that end up prevailing over the whole region.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yep.
So anyways.
And beyond.
Right. That's just one example, but you can go through the entire chapter like that and look at the historical fulfillment of chapter 11. But some people don't want to listen to it because there's a lot of teachings out there that are saying it's still yet to come. But let's go to 12. Because there's some very interesting stuff in here.
I've got highlights all over the place in 12.
I don't have anything until 9.
Mine's in 3.
Mine's in 1.
Okay.
Oh, Lynn's got it this time.
And so
Come on,
what I underlined was, at that time shall Michael stand up, the
Yep.
great prince that standeth for the children of thy people. He's the restrainer. Isn't that what we're talking about here?
And that one verse too, it also sounds like he is the angel assigned to Israel as a whole.
Mhm.
It does. It does. At that time, thy people shall be delivered. Everyone shall be founded. Oh, wow.
Yep.
Yeah, it said everyone found in the book of life will be rescued.
Now,
Wow.
but notice that too in verse 2.
Yeah.
Many, not all,
Many,
many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life and some to shame and everlasting contempt.
But if it's just many, what about the rest of them? Do they have to wait
for the final.
for the final resurrection?
There's
Okay.
2 resurrections,
Okay.
Now,
Thank you.
if I understand it correctly.
That sounds right.
Go ahead,
Okay.
John. Sorry.
because at the end of 11, right, we have them setting up various places of worship and such. But anyways, it's just interesting because in the very next verse, and they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, that they that turn many to righteousness as the stars forever and ever.
Ever and ever. Oh, it's so awesome.
So who's that talking about?
That's talking about the people that bring other people into the kingdom, isn't it?
I believe this is talking about when Yeshua was crucified.
Yep. And the first.
Remember, it says the ground, the earthquake, and the graves
Yes.
opened up,
Mhm.
Oh,
and many of the saints
ding, ding, ding.
arose and were walking
Yes.
about.
Ah,
And then the very next verse we have, they that turn many to righteousness as the stars. So them that are out there preaching this gospel of the kingdom, repentance of sins, and that Yeshua covered you.
okay, so 2 different people.
We got.
Also,
That's the way I'm reading it.
well, also in the NASB, it says, and those who have insight.
hmm
Right, the wise.
If we say that,
Yep.
that history's cyclical, is he not waking people up now, raising them from the graves? The dry bones are coming to life.
Yep.
And he's giving insight now. Those are going to be also now at the end time doing the same thing.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. He is a God of patterns. He does that.
Cyclical.
Yep. He's got a patterns until he's not.
So
That's
Daniel's like, when's this going to happen, man? And then in verse 9, he's told it's sealed up until the time of the end. You're not going to know.
Yep.
But then verses 11 and 12. And from that time, that the daily sacrifice shall be taken away, and the abomination that maketh desolation set up, there shall be 1,290 days.
3.5.
But blessed is he that waiteth and cometh to the 1,305 and 30 days. Now, there are some theories out there that say that this is a continuation of days of years, right? Each day mentioned is a year.
Mhm.
So when I was reading this, a lot of the talking I've been doing with Mindy and some other people on the various calendars. Well, they've got them all screwed up. Basically, all the calendars are screwed up. But with one of the theories being that at the ascension of Yeshua to be seated at the right hand of Yah, right? That happened, right? He ascended and is seated there. But then everybody starts messing with time to get humans all deceived. And we know historically, it's been discovered that Pope and Emperor, the Roman Pope and the Roman Emperor, conspired to change it from turning the year 700, saying, oh, we're going to make it the year 1000. So they skipped 300 years ahead.
Yep.
And then going backwards, people start losing track around the 1600s. So I'm thinking, if this is correct, and Satan was bound, the dragon was bound, Satan was bound for 1,000 years in the bottomless pit, and that 1,000 years expired and he was released to deceive the nations even more, we could well be between 1292 and 1335.
Yep. Just look at how wicked the world is.
It's not pretty.
It's not pretty at all. It's pretty obvious whose spirit is being worshipped and exalted in the world, and it sure isn't y'all's.
And if you look about a little over 100 years ago, when technology shot through the roof.
Yep,
Yeah.
the 40s during the World War.
No, even before that.
No, way before that. Yep.
Yeah, we were in horse and buggy
And then
until
we were in
the early
electricity.
1900s, and then boom, all of a sudden you had all this stuff.
Electricity and cars. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happened quick.
And then, but even that history can be falsified.
Mm-hmm. That's
You know,
true.
I was studying with some people last night.
It's his story.
It was more of a meeting than a study. It wasn't like this type of study. But, you know, we were discussing how, and it also mentions in Esdras that each copy of man is not as good as the previous one. So eventually,
Because it's a copy of a copy.
yeah, because it's a copy of a copy. And eventually, you know, if we compare to us to Adam, we'd just be this, you know, withering weakling
kinda- Yeah.
something. Yeah.
Shut
And you know, comparing that, and then within a few sentences of that, somebody's saying, oh, well, people in the early part of the Bible don't have any idea. They were dumb back then, so they had to liken it to
They
stuff
were,
that they understood, you
they
know,
were smarter than we were.
like an ox cart or something like that. It's like, you know what? I guarantee you they knew math more complicated to figure out the yield of their crop than you do.
Because it just
On a
goes to
regular
show those first pyramids, those step pyramids, those were pyramids for grain storage, and they knew how to do all this stuff with all these bins. And when it was taken out of the middle bin, they would flow to the other. And they had it where the people would come in this one and they'd walk down this narrow pathway and they would get their grain and then they would go like out the other side, so that like they had it was. I'm just like going, so this is crazy. They were smart.
Extremely
Just
so.
think about it's taxing my brain to figure out, okay, if I'm going to grow blueberries, that means I've got to acidify my soil. I had no
Really?
clue until like a month ago that I needed to do that. Well, my
Berries.
grandmother could grow anything. They knew all that stuff.
Blueberries are kind of weeds. They'll grow anywhere, and you should keep them in a pot, or they'll take over. Yeah.
Mm.
You've got great dirt there, Dee. I wish I had dirt like you did. I'd go out and dig some up. Right
So
from
it's-
the forest.
Yeah, it's. I believe we're in that. I believe, anyways. I believe we're in those that final count, and I know a lot of people here believe we are also, but maybe not looking at it at the end of Daniel, looking at it as the way things are unfolding around us.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, good gravy.
Good gravy. I like gravy.
Well, I mean the ridiculousness of what's happening, you know, and the way the courts are, you know,
Yeah.
they've literally passed so many laws that a court can rule
Any way
against
they
you,
want.
for you, or against you,
Hmm.
based on what their proclivities are.
Feelings. Based on feelings.
Yep.
Not on rule of law, not on fact, but on feeling and emotion.
Yep. And that's why I was telling everyone read Jasher chapters 19 and 20. Because that is Abraham and Lot going into the cities, the 5 cities, and the way they wrote the laws were so that they could
Like now.
mess anybody over that they wanted and enrich themselves. And that's just one of the things that they were doing.
So do you want to look at chapter 7?
Chapter 7?
You mean verse
I
7?
mean, verse 7?
Verse 7? Yay for you, D!
Yeah, bring it up.
Well, so I just sent you a link to Bible Hub 7, so 12:7.
Let's see. Let's hope it doesn't shut anything down.
And well, if it does, well, if you're concerned that it will. Okay, so
Here we go.
if you go into BibleHub.com and go into the interlinear version has, it'll either have the Hebrew or the Greek plus the literal translation of that word. So it's not, and so things get left out sometimes that have been inserted. So if you scroll down toward the bottom of the page, you will see, let's see, it says, by him who lives and swore, if you're reading left to right, I'm sorry, go back up to where the scripture is.
All right.
And
Okay.
stop, let's see, above the waters, keep going up, back. Okay, so the line says from left to right, by him who lives and swore heaven to and his left hand. That's what the line is. From left to right.
Okay.
Okay. So if you look under, let's see. So above the waters, to left hand. Okay. On the next to the third to the last line, it says forever that it shall be for a time, times and half. So it's the third line. Stop right there.
Oh, right here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you look at the words for a time, and a half,
Okay.
the Strong's
Moed.
Concordance
Moedim.
for Moed, it's La Moed, Mohadim, and Chatzi. Watsi is the way it is. But Strong's has the same word for Moed, HaMoed, and Moedim. And that's incorrect. Because a Moed is appointed time. A Moedim is also an appointed time, but it's in a different appointed time. So the Moed are the major feasts. And the Moedim is the minor things like Shavuot. It's the days in between, and then the half a times are those smaller things. These are feasts. These are not years. These are
Which is
feasts.
how it's been translated in the West.
Right.
Right. It's
And
because
so when you have the time, and half a times, it's been translated as years,
Yeah. A year and a half.
and it's not.
Right.
right. It's
goes
because when
along
they
with
went
biblical
to translate, they just used a one-word translation instead of translating it more accurately with many words.
Right.
And that's when we run into problems with some of this stuff.
But this just really, really goes to show that when you throw the feasts out, you lose everything.
Yep.
You
You
do.
lose all of your
Your references.
references. Because everything
You don't know the season
everything
and
in
the time.
everything in the New Testament and in prophecy goes with the feasts. All of it.
Yep. And if you notice, like I really can't stand Old and New Testament, those terms.
Yeah.
But if you notice in the Old Testament, just about every time that we begin reading something, it's on the 13th day of the 6th
Mhm.
month, or it's these things are happening right around these feast times.
Exactly.
It's like, hey, look for something happening because here come, feast days are coming. That's
Yes.
when our spiritual attacks get
Mhm.
great. You know what I mean, on a personal level and as a whole. I think a lot of it does have to do with being around the feast times.
Well, and this is the reference that Steve Maitreya discusses in the parousia, the Armageddon parousia. I believe he discusses this at length.
Thank you, Dee.
Anyway,
Yeah.
that was my contribution for the day.
Very good. I like it.
So nobody brought donuts?
Who eats?
No sugar at my house.
I have coconut sugar here
Nobody bought bagels?
and maybe some agave. You can pour that on there.
What?
Hey,
Chocolate?
John,
Agave.
can you copy
agave.
that? Can you copy that link and put it into the chat on YouTube?
For Bible Hub.
I got
Yeah,
it.
that Dee put in there that goes to that
Yes.
in Bible Hub.
Are you doing
I was
it,
going to
Jonathan?
try to,
Yeah, I
but
got it.
I was like, I'll end up messing it up trying to flip around pages and stuff.
Bum, 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 bum. That's Bible Hub, right?
Yes.
Yeah. It's
Bible Hub, Bible Hub.
in the private chat on StreamYard that goes directly to what Dee was talking about.
Bible Hub.
Chance they're wanting to see your big old Bibles.
These
on,
are
let's
just going
compare,
to the
Chad.
bathroom with me. My wife is sleeping right now. She's been working nights, so I'm doing this from the bathroom. But usually I've got these laid out on my desk. But and I've
Don't
got like
stand up.
I'm clothed. It's safe. Oh. I've got the
That's all
King
like we're
Jimmy.
hanging-
I've got the Hallelujah scriptures, and I've got the Sefer in here that I've been flipping through. These are the three I've been using this morning, but I also use a New World Translation, NIV, ESV. I've got an HNV, Hebrew Names Version in there, and I've got some of them that are just from different times and years. You know what I mean? And you can go through there and see where things are changed and different. This was because I just now got a computer to where I can actually research stuff without hard copy. But I prefer hard copy any day. It just takes longer to cross-reference with a hard copy. But this way you can read through and see, like where it says, for instance, princes and heads. When we're reading in Daniel, the prince of this, the head of this. Well, prince makes it sound like you're talking about a person, a human.
Right.
But when you read that a head, it makes you stop and wonder, was he talking principality or what? Because like you said, a lot of things have been, the word may have been used, but they used a different meaning for the word whenever it was put into certain different translations. So you got to be able to do the whole go through there.
Well, Jonathan, what were you saying about Webster? His reason for developing the dictionary?
The whole reason Webster started the New American Dictionary is because he said language changes. Their language had already changed from English, British English, and he wanted to preserve the language that the papers from the founding fathers and the Constitution and all that stuff was written in, so that people could go back and look at the previous definitions. But if you look at Webster's online now, they changed the definition when it suits them. So he's probably rolling over in his grave.
Yeah, and I often wonder, and I've said this to a couple of people, I wonder if this is what part of wearing down the saints is. It's just this bombardment. Everything's changing. They're hiding history. They're making it more and more difficult. They're spraying stuff, all that stuff that's going on. It's just, it's very tiring.
Yep, it's nonstop.
Yep. That's why we have to endure until the end. Endure. Don't grow weary of the good works. Don't grow weary of it.
There's only a few days left.
Right.
So, all right. Anything else anybody wants to add? Okay, let's let these people get on with their resting.
Shabbat shalom. Love all y'all guys. Thanks for hanging out in the chat and coming and visiting. Like, share, subscribe.
And press the bell thingy.
Everybody, hit the notification bell. We're needing
Look at
more
that. There's
people to come
3
and read
people
with
to
us.
make up for Matt.
Yeah, where
Miss
was
you, Matt. Love you,
Matt Yahoo? Where was he?
Oh, I couldn't find my phone. Okay.
I sent him a note like a week ago and I still haven't heard from him. I was like, Matt, are you okay? It's like, dude, I know you're down there by the border. Let me know you're okay.
He's really busy.
So, all right. Thank you, Chance. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Dee. Thank you, everybody, for coming today. I love y'all, and we're going to be starting back to the Apocrypha to read the other Daniel books. So,
That'll be fun.
be there or be square.
See you.
All right. Love you all. Bye.
Love y'all guys and gals.